Meanwhile, Ed and Clarice were currently heading somewhere on a horse under the protection of two powerful mages who were currently protecting the academy desperately. Ed then called Clarice and told her to remember what he said earlier. Clarice said that she understood. Clarice silently admitted that she was indeed afraid. She also wanted to escape from this disaster, and thought that it was natural, but, when she saw Ed, she could not help but be surprised. But, when Clarice was thinking about it, something unexpected suddenly happened. The horse they were riding suddenly hit by something. It made the horse lose control and made the two of them end up falling to the ground, but fortunately Ed was able to quickly react and immediately hugged Clarice to protect her. Ed groaned in pain after the landing. The friction of the ground that occurred during his landing made his wound even worse. But fortunately Clarice, who was in his arms, was not injured because he was able to quickly protect her. Clarice then slowly opened her eyes, but then she was shocked. She was shocked when she saw Ed's body, which was covered in blood at this time. The condition of his body really made her scared and worried, but, as if nothing had happened, Ed said that he was fine. He had already experienced worse than this. Seeing his tough look, Clarice really wondered why he could be this tough. While pointing his gaze in a direction, Ed said that the most important thing now was, but, his eyes then widened in surprise, because the building right in front of them at this time was Scholars' Cathedral. That was exactly the place they wanted to go. The holy city of Telos was known for its long history and vast territory. There is a group that is revered as the greatest celestial magic users. If those people gather in one place, even Lucy will not be able to fight them easily. They are 8 adherents who are so loyal that they are willing to sacrifice their lives to the god of Telos at any time, and these 8 people had an exclusive title, the Apostles of Telos. That's how the world called them, and just when Ed and Clarice were about to enter the cathedral, they were then blocked by one of them. Seeing that, Clarice then anxiously asked him to please move away from the entrance now, but unfortunately, the Apostle of Telos' only weakness was their faith. Hearing her request, the Apostle of Telos apologized to her. He firmly refused her request because this was a direct order from the Holy Emperor. No one was allowed to pass through this door. He asked her to understand, this was all for her own good, but, right after he said that, he was then surprised when he saw a dagger suddenly flying attacking him, but fortunately he could quickly react and immediately parry the dagger. The person who attacked him suddenly turned out to be Ed, who had been silent, while distracting the Apostle of Telos. Ed then immediately told Clarice to break in no matter what. Seeing Clarice, who ran in, the Apostle of Telos immediately felt panic. He then anxiously told Clarice that she could not enter, but just as he took out his weapon and was about to stop Clarice, he was then surprised when he saw a magic engineering suddenly appear in front of him. It was a magic engineering issued by Ed called Shock-Enhanced Wave Sphere. After that, a very strong wind pressure then emerged from the magic engineering once it was active. It made him fly away and made the distance between him and Clarice widen. But, the attack prepared by Ed did not stop there. The Apostle of Telos then felt something and turned his head to the side. There, he then saw a lot of wind blades flying attacking him. Even so, the wind blades were not enough to harm him. He managed to deflect the wind blades quite easily, but it managed to distract him, which made Clarice finally manage to enter the cathedral. The Apostle of Telos chuckled at that. He realized that he could not stop Clarice anymore at this time, so, while swearing, he then directed his gaze forward, towards someone who kept bothering him. The Apostle of Telos then asked him, "Who are you?" Seeing him still forcing himself to move even though the bleeding was already severe, he then told him to just give up. He told him that everything was over, but, right after he said that, he was then surprised when he felt a very strong pressure on him. And the pressure came from Ed, who he thought was helpless. At this time, a powerful mana fluctuation appeared and even affected the room where they were. Ed then manipulated the mana and concentrated it into his hand area. With a crossbow in his hand, Ed said that this was still not over. It was an intermediate magic called Mana Arrow. This magic made him able to form an arrow that materialized from dense mana. The amount and trajectory varied depending on the ability of the user. Seeing that, the Apostle of Telos did not flinch. He then cast Advanced Celestial Magic, Holy Body Activation, which had the effect of converting all mana into physical energy through celestial magic. With a brightly lit spear in his hand, the Apostle of Telos then took a fighting stance. He apologized to him, but, he would have to kill him if necessary. Ed did not back down when he heard his threat and immediately fired the mana arrow he had cast. But, even though he had fired so many mana arrows at the Apostle of Telos, he could easily avoid the arrows he fired as if he already knew their trajectory. When the Apostle of Telos slowly approached him, with words full of confidence and unwavering faith. He then said, "I, the honorable apostle of Telos, Taldarek, the swiftest blade, will take your life." The spear of the apostle of Telos named Taldarek then landed on his body right after he said that. The spear attack was so strong that it pierced Ed's body and made his blood spurt everywhere. His eyes widened as a result of the pain he received. When Ed was in critical condition, he then flashed back to the moment when he and Clarice were heading here. Ed at that time already knew that he could not be saved and told Clarice about that fact, but Clarice certainly did not want to accept that fact. Seeing Clarice who was so scared, Ed then encouraged her and told her to never give up. She had to break through with all her ability, even though this timeline would continue to be repeated. But her body and mind would not be able to recover from the trauma she carried. They never knew how long she could last, but he begged her to hold on, until they could fully understand what was happening. So, Ed asked her to strengthen her heart and muster all her strength. After remembering that, with his hands covered in blood, Ed then held Taldarek's hand tightly. Surprisingly, Ed did not fall immediately after being hit by such a fatal attack. This was truly a miracle because his own chest had now been pierced by a spear. Taldarek was shocked when he saw it, but what made him more shocked and incomprehensible was when he saw Ed suddenly stabbed his own hand with a dagger. This made him have a bad feeling. Ed had made a promise to Clarice at that time, that if time were to turn back once again, then for the next time, he promised to end it perfectly. The dagger stab aggravated his wound and made him spit out a mouthful of blood, but it made Glast's golden phoenix ring shine as if triggered, with a very horrifying gaze. Ed then stared at Taldarek with a gaze that seemed to penetrate into his soul. Taldarek could only be shocked and confused about what he should do when he saw the ring on Ed's finger suddenly shine. He couldn't retreat at the moment because his hand was held tightly by Ed, even though Ed said to Clarice that he couldn't be saved, but he certainly didn't intend to die that easily. When Ed managed to activate the ring and exert maximum output, a large wolf then appeared and pounced towards Taldarek. Taldarek's eyes widened in fear as the wolf's mouth quickly pounced towards him, until finally, only a cry of despair from him was heard accompanied by blood splashing out of his broken body. Seeing that, as if he could no longer support his body, Ed then fell to his knees. After returning to her human form, Marilda then worriedly approached him. She asked if he was crazy, even though he could summon her from the beginning. Hearing that, Ed said that it was useless. She would lose. He was too strong and fast an opponent. Marilda didn't know what to answer when she heard that and just called him stupid, but she then panicked when she felt Ed's vitality gradually declining. She anxiously asked him to hold on and stay with her, but Ed knew that it was impossible. He himself had intended to die at this time. Just before his death, Ed then directed his gaze forward, towards the cathedral that Clarice entered. The cathedral was shining so brightly at this time, but Marilda did not realize or care about it. Her attention was completely focused on Ed at this time. She sadly asked Ed not to die and leave her. In the midst of the sadness that engulfed Marilda's heart, when Ed slowly closed his eyes, the light in his eyes gradually disappeared, until finally, Ed then died quietly. Marilda then sadly called his name when she saw that. She could no longer hold back her tears at this time. Meanwhile, inside the cathedral, in front of the door to the main room of the cathedral, Clarice then hysterically asked for the door to be opened. Who knows how many times she shouted and opened the door in front of her. It made her tired. She was confused why the door was locked, even though she had been here several times before and it was always open. Inside this door, there should be a wide corridor, and after passing through it, there was a sacred sanctuary. Realizing that her request would not be answered, Clarice then tried to force open the door. She cast a magic and destroyed the door. Clarice's breath was panting from exhaustion after doing so, but, when Clarice turned her gaze forward, she was then shocked by what she saw. With blood constantly dripping from her body, under Clarice's disbelieving gaze, someone then slowly walked towards her. It was Adele. Clarice was really shocked to see Adele here, and in such a condition. When Adele seemed unable to walk anymore, Clarice then immediately walked over and supported her body. She really felt worried when she saw her condition. She asked why she was injured like this. Adele was silent for a moment. Hearing her question, she then called her, and said that she came earlier than she expected. Clarice was certainly confused by her words. Adele did not explain it further to her. She then pushed her body slowly and walked back towards the center of the room. While Clarice was confused by what happened, her eyes then widened in surprise when she saw something in the hand of the Adele who pushed her earlier, while limping. Adele said that she didn't need to go back anymore. With a surprised look, Clarice's eyes then fell on a symbol in Adele's hand. The symbol was the blessing of the sacred law. To create that blessing, it took 1 archbishop, 6 bishops, and 8 apostles, as well as combining all the holy magic of the Holy Emperor. Only one person in this world was able to bear the blessing on her body, and that was Saintus. When Adele finally reached the center of the room, she then let his body float, and a mini celestial magic circle suddenly appeared from the center of her chest. The celestial magic circle created an amazing mana fluctuation and continued to grow as its height increased. Clarice was completely confused and did not understand what was happening. A myriad of questions appeared in her mind when she witnessed that. With a gentle smile, Adele then turned to her. She said that there was not much time left. In a moment, everything will be over. Hearing that, amidst the strong wind created by the pressure generated by the appearance of the celestial magic circle, Clarice asked Adele what she was talking about, but Adele did not answer her question. Her body continued to float along with the increasing mana fluctuations she created. Seeing that, Clarice then tried to approach her and worriedly called out to her, but it was useless. A powerful mana explosion then appeared which drowned them both, and the first thing she saw when she opened her eyes again was Ed, who asked her what she needed. But Ed was then confused when he saw Clarice suddenly stand up from her chair. Clarice gritted her teeth, probably upset because she almost solved all the mysteries behind this time loop. She also clenched her hands tightly, which showed that her determination had returned at this time. She then directed her gaze at him, and asked him to please listen carefully to everything she said. Clarice returned once again, but unlike her previous despair, her heart was now filled with hope.